Hi Flosstube, this is Stephanie at Stitchinit, and today I have a very special guest with me. This is Danielle, and she's 8 months old, and my life has changed a lot since I have had her. She's not my first baby, but it's the first child that I've had that I've tried to cross stitch through. So today I decided to do a video on some tips and some good supplies that help cross stitch when you've got young children and a baby. Babies do sleep a lot the first early months, but after the first 3 months or so, you know, they start to spend a lot more time awake and need to be entertained, and by the time they're mobile and crawling and starting to walk, they're getting into things, and it can be really hard and inconvenient to try to cross stitch. I know that ever since she's been crawling, which has been about almost 2 months now, I've had a lot less time to sit at a stand and stitch like I want to, or just sit in my stitchy spot and get the time to work on a project. So I've been working on some stuff that's really helped me that I'm going to talk about. See if she'll behave when I put her down. When your baby's asleep or with someone else, you know, you can stitch on whatever you want, of course. But the trick is, what are you going to do when the baby's awake or your toddler is awake? How do you keep them occupied? How do you keep them from ruining your stitching stuff or getting into too much of a mess? And I think the first thing is consideration of what project you're working on. When you have a baby or a toddler, it's not a good time to really work on your HAEDs. It's a good time to work on small projects that don't have a lot of colors. They can still have a lot of detail that you can work on, but you know, if you have something that's a monogamous kind of color, some sort of sampler that just has a few colors or something like that, that's really a good choice to work on when your baby is awake. One thing that really helped me when my babies were young is I wore them in a sling, a baby carrier. She's getting kind of big for that now. Once they reach the grabby stage where they can, you know, reach for everything out of the sling, it becomes less helpful. But when she was just a couple months old, I would wear her in the baby carrier and then hold my project out above, and it was hard to hold an 11-inch Q-snap out like that, but it was easy enough to use a project that was on an 8-inch Q-snap. The project that I've been working on the most recently, you may have seen it on my whip video, but it's a blue Buddha, and I'm having a lot of it's not fun to stitch big blocks of color, but when you're getting interrupted every minute or so with the baby getting into something or needing attention, or you have to put the stitching down, you know, every so often, it's good to work on monogamous blocks of color that are otherwise boring. Another thing that's been really helpful is this case that I got from Art Bin. It's a magnetic case called Solutions, as it says, but you can keep everything that you need in here. I have thread and a needle and scissors and a marker and a needle minder, and it goes with me, and I don't have to have anything unnecessary out. If I'm using it, I open it up. If there's little hands coming to grab it or anything else, I can snap it shut, pick it up. It's no big deal. It's good for baby proofing. This is another thing that has become really helpful for me, okay? And it has a project on it right now, which I think I might take off to show you. But this is a tabletop frame that I made from PVC pipe. I used the tutorial that's on Pam's Crafty Corner video. It's a fantastic video. It's very easy to follow. I can link it below. And I believe in hers she uses 12-inch things to make sort of a lap frame. I used 8-inch lengths of PVC pipe. It's 3/4 inch PVC pipe, and hold on, she's getting into the dog bowl. So I used 8-inch length PVC pipes to make a smaller frame, something that would sit on the table, that would keep my stitching off, you know, the surface or the ground. And I think it's become really helpful since I had the baby, because when I need to put everything down and go get the baby immediately or do something, I can put this down and my stitching stays off the floor, it stays off the table, it stays off the surface that might have sticky stuff on it, you know, and it makes it easier. Also, I can rest this on the table or the surface in front of me, and I can even stitch one-handed when I don't have anything else, you know, to do. She just wants to be held and I just want to stitch or something, you know. It's really helpful. So I think that's a great thing to have. Also, another thing that I've noticed that you might not want to do when you have a baby at your feet is work with very long pieces of thread. The longer pieces of thread you have, the more chance it is for the baby to grab it or pull on it, get tangled up, you know, stuff like that. So I think I've been working with shorter thread lengths also. That helps in general, because I don't mind starting a new thread if I'm getting interrupted all the time anyway. And I also want to mention, you know, as a last resort, you know, I'm not telling someone how to or how not to parent their children, but I wanted to say that, you know, as a last resort, please, you know, don't use electronic devices sparingly. You know, use it as your last resort so you can pull it out of your pocket when you really truly need some mommy time or just a way to entertain your baby. Don't use it as a first resort, but definitely it can be used as a last resort. I'm always trying to find ways to carve out more stitching time into my schedule, and the easiest thing that I can suggest is to try to get up a little bit earlier every day and do it first thing in the morning when your baby is still asleep or the kids are still asleep, because once they wake up, you know, and they need your attention, and that's your first priority as a mom, is to take care of your kids. But we know how much time goes into this craft, and so I hope that a few tips and supplies that I have will really help you to maximize your stitching time that you have. I hope these tips and suggestions have helped you to find a way that you can get a little more stitching time in when your little ones are around. And thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. I hope these tips and suggestions help you find more time to stitch, and I thank you for watching. And I can't do this, I hate outros. Watch, subscribe, like.
Use that, trust me.